Welcome to CCS-TV Weekly, where we bring you highlights and happenings from Coweta County schools. For the week of January 30th, I'm Dawn Revere.
And I'm Josh Johnson. We'll look ahead at coming events for the Coweta County school system. But first,
Coweta Central Educational Center hosts a site visit and external review of its school operations and state charter February 2nd. A team assembled by the Technical College System of Georgia and the Georgia Department of Education will conduct the external review of Coweta's charter and career academy. The goal of this visit is a 5-year renewal of CEC state charter, which allows the school to offer unique educational programs for Coweta students and forge the unique partnerships that provide those programs. We met with Mark Whitlock, CEO of the Central Educational Center, to explain.
CEC is a school sharing students from all our high schools where students can be career focused. They can get a jump start on a great career, make higher wages at younger ages by the age of 18 with a great career ahead of them. CEC has a charter. That's a flexibility contract. Flexibility allows CEC to do things that are necessary in career-focused areas so students can gain higher wages at younger ages. The charter is a great opportunity for us to help students.
CEC's February 2nd review will be the first step in recertifications of CEC's charter. The school's charter was established 20 years ago when CEC became the first charter and career academy created in Georgia. A number of Coweta educators and business leaders, including the late Joe Harless, led the effort to create CEC as an innovative charter school model for Coweta and Georgia. The review process used by the state is named in honor of Coweta's Harless.
Because we have a charter, we need to be recertified each 5 years by the Technical College System of Georgia working with the State Board of Education. The certification process was named after Dr. Joe Harless, who led our community to create the very first college and career academy among the now 57 in Georgia. Every 5 years, we get an opportunity to show off what we've been able to accomplish using that flexibility provided by the charter and providing information about the success of these students who gain higher wages at younger ages by being part of this career-focused program.
on February 21st, the Coweta County school system continues its Leadership Academy for school employees who are considering becoming future school administrators. The program, Resume the School Year, introduces classroom educators to the responsibilities and issues faced by school and system leaders, and aims to develop Coweta's future leaders from among experienced school employees. Coweta School System's Personnel Department organized the program. We talked with Human Resources Director Vera Perry-Harris about the program.
So our Leadership Academy is geared toward identifying classroom teachers who are aspiring leaders. This year we're working with teachers who are aspiring assistant principals, and next year hopefully we'll be starting with assistant principals who are aspiring to be a principal. We find the people who are most interested in getting into the Leadership Academy are those people who are leaders within their school. Those people who already serve on their school building leadership team, those who are department chairs, those who are leaders of the PBIS process. So people who are interested in the Leadership Academy also have a vested interest in the growth of our community and impacting our student growth on a day-to-day basis. We have lots of people who are retiring. We have people who are interested in those openings, and sometimes that just falls into a leadership opening. And when we have an opportunity to talk with people who are, who know Coweta, who know our mission and our vision for our county and our students, our community, that helps us in planning for the future.
February is Black History Month, and many Coweta schools celebrate the contributions of African Americans in American history and culture during the month. We met with Smokey Road Middle School principal Monica Nelson to hear her school's plans.
The point of doing Black History Month or the Black History program is to just better educate the students, giving them more information, being able to dive deeper into Black history, and then also allowing them to learn from others. So again, being able to dig deeper into other cultures as well, so learn about other cultures. So what we'll do is announcements, and that will also include some trivia questions. So we'll give them some history of the actual Black History program or Black history, and then during lunchtime what we'll do is do a trivia game. So we'll select one question and we'll give a trivia game during each lunch session, so during 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then we'll give them a prize for the winner. We'll also include, they'll have door decorations, and they'll also have, each hall is also taking on a theme as well. So one hall may do engineer or inventors, another hallway may do musicians. So we'll just have different things on each hallway, so that way students can have a live museum per se to be able to view.
Now for a look ahead in our school system with East Coweta High student Olivia Rodriguez.
STAR students and teachers from each high school are recognized by the Noonan Rotary Club on February 10th. The school system's winter break for students and employees happens February 13th through the 17th. At the Nixon Centre for Performing and Visual Arts, a number of school and community programs avail in February. An art display from Canongate Elementary School celebrating Black History Month opens February 1st. Hank and My Honky Tonk Heroes will go on the center's main stage February 2nd. The Noonan High School Band performs February 22nd. Poplar Road Elementary will hold its musical the 25th. And Good Shot Judy will perform March 2nd. To see more upcoming Nixon Centre school and community events, and for ticket information, go to www.thenixoncenter.net.
Thanks, Olivia. The Coweta County School System frequently has to monitor incoming weather conditions to determine if inclement weather will affect school operations or safety. For our last segment, we'll take a closer look at how those contingencies are approached by the school system and what goes into those inclement weather notices received by parents. We sat down with Superintendent Evan Horton to explain the process that he and his team work through when severe weather becomes a possibility.
Coweta County schools are in class 180 days out of the school year. And that means basically half the calendar we have students in school. That means bad weather is going to intersect with some of those days.
Yeah, it does. And you know, bad weather is not relegated to one season. It's throughout the year. You go from the summer and fall, you have thunderstorms, tropical storms, winter, of course. We haven't had much of it in recent years, but typically you get some wintry precipitation, and then you go back to the spring, and there's more chance for severe weather once again. So, you know, weather is the one thing that can impact almost each of the 180 days of the school year.
And you might want to make a distinction here. Bad weather, generally speaking, is okay. Our schools, our operations, they can handle that. But severe weather can often pose some real risks.
Yeah, it certainly can. And especially in light of the situation we're in at Noonan High with, you know, mobile classrooms, because that really does change the way that we have to go about dealing with things such as tornado watches. And I'll go ahead and say it right off the bat. Going through the experience that we've had has certainly changed the way that I look at weather in a lot of ways.
You're talking about 2021.
Yeah, it certainly has.
Let's talk about all of that a little bit. What are some aspects of school system operations that might be impacted by, again, severe weather as opposed to just bad weather?
You know, the first one that comes to mind, which is the most dangerous thing that we do each day, transportation. Even on its best day, transportation is very, very dangerous. So it is probably the most impacted of all school system operations when it comes to severe weather, just because of the scale that you're operating on. We're talking 300 buses, people driving 50-foot metal tubes with over 50 kids on them. It's just a dangerous deal, and weather just heightens the danger. Plus the fact that you have kids out in the elements waiting on school buses. We try to minimize that and mitigate that, but it happens. So all of those things play into your mind when you're talking about, do we go or do we not go? Do we delay? Do we not delay? Because quite frankly, there's a lot of danger out there.
Icy conditions on roads, possibility that we might run into not just high winds or storms, but actual tornado watches for our schools. Those are the kind of things, depending on when they might come, depending on that could actually, again, pose a risk. Maybe not so much for a school sometime, but it could certainly pose a risk for buses and drivers, parent drivers, and it could certainly, depending on when that might come, might actually pose a risk for things like starting the school day, ending school day.
Yeah, and you've used the phrase a couple of times while you were talking, depending on when it might come.
That's one of the biggest factors.
I think one of the biggest factors is timing and the fact that no two weather situations are ever the same. You can have, and we've had it recently, you have severe thunderstorms on one Thursday, you get severe thunderstorms the next Thursday, and the circumstances are totally different. Be that because of timing, be that because of potential impacts. There is such a striking difference between something that's going to, say, move through between 6 and 9 in the morning, or something that's going to move through in the middle of the school day. And every single variable matters. Every variable matters.
And just to drive it home, something moving through, depending on what it is, something moving through the middle of a school day probably won't impact things at all, or might not. Something that might be going through at 2:30 or 3:30, that's a very different set of calculations.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for people to know that, of course, I check the weather forecast first thing every morning. But from 10 to 14 days out, when I even begin to see a hint of the possibility of weather that could impact our operations, I begin to go through a mental checklist. What do I need to consider? Who do I need to have at the table? Do I need to consult with emergency management? Do we think the weather service will be offering briefings for whatever event? And as we zero in on the event, we get a better picture of what the impacts potentially could be. Oftentimes, though, we don't really get 100% verification of a forecast or of an event until often the day of, or within a good 12-hour range. So there's a process that you work through to be able to make good, sound decisions when it comes to weather.
Well, and that's something I want to point out. And actually, this is not a criticism. The sources that you look at, National Weather Service, among others, talking about local emergency management, has really good, information that comes into their office, not to mention a tremendous amount of experience about how those sorts of scenarios might impact Coweta County. There really are resources available, forecasting resources available today that just weren't around 10 and 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That said, that doesn't mean that as superintendent, what's actually going to happen at the actual time, and that can be the nerve-wracking part.
Yeah, absolutely the nerve-wracking part. And even with the technology as good as it is and the forecasting tools that are available, still weather. You don't control it. You just don't. So it's always in the back of your mind that circumstances could change, and they often do. We're very fortunate, though. We have great relationships with local and state emergency management. They're giving us great information, sometimes real-time information. A great example recently with the tornado outbreak we had. I'm on the phone with EMA, and they're telling me, hey, just so you know, this storm, this tornado, is about 150 miles away from here, and you're about an hour and 15 minutes away from dismissal, and it's moving at 50 miles an hour. Do the math, and then by 3:15, everyone needs to be in a spot. So we're getting real-time information a lot of times to be able to make sound decisions, but still the weather, and it's still unpredictable, and that's always in the back of your mind.
And that brings us to a close for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. CCS-TV will return throughout the year to bring you stories from the Coweta County school system. Now, to close out this episode, some parting thoughts.
In the Coweta County school system, teachers stress to our students the value of planning and preparation. Preparation for the day's class, preparation for that upcoming test, for student competition or performance. Our school's mission at all levels, in fact, is ultimately to prepare our students for success in their continuing education, careers, and lives after graduation. We try to carry that ethic over into all that we do in our schools and system. You've heard from our superintendent what goes into determining how inclement weather might affect the safety of our schools and operations. There is a lot of careful planning that goes into making these calls. And a great deal of deliberation takes place before parents get these weather notices. That's true too for things like the Central Educational Center's charter renewal. The visit the school is expecting in February will follow a tremendous amount of planning on the part of CEC's administrators, teachers, partners, and stakeholders. It will follow a lot of reflection on CEC's past successes and its future needs, just as our school system as a whole does with 5-year accreditation. It's also true for things like our Leadership Academy. That effort prepares future leaders to work toward an ambitious goal of successfully managing our schools and school system. It also positions our school system for strong leadership going forward. So when you see that notice of a new principal or assistant principal selection, our community can know that a lot of effort and training has taken place to get to that point. That's also true of successful classroom instruction, every successful school day, every successful school competition, and every graduation exercise. We appreciate the planning and preparation on the part of our teachers, students, and parents that ensures success.